everybody, all my holistic heroes, and thank you so much for tuning in to Life with Lily. So today we have a very special guest, Abby Rosmarin, who is a fabulous author, and we actually met through TikTok. So we're going to have her come up to talk about dating yourself and why that is important and why you would even want to. So hello, darling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing fabulous, even though it's Venus retrograde, which I think it's great for us to talk about this now in this astrological sign of all places. So tell us a little bit about yourself for people who do not know your fabulousness on TikTok.
Well, hello, everybody. So my name's Abby Rosmarin. Once upon a time on TikTok, I was also known as Not Jennifer Garner, but I switched over to my legal name a couple of months ago. I make kind of all sorts of content, a lot of documenting my life, but also just talking about things like trauma recovery, relationships, kind of socio-political issues. I'm also an author. I've written, I think it's like 6 books at this point, all available on the Amazons. And on top of that, I'm a graduate student. I'm getting my master's in science, master's of science in clinical mental health counseling.
Awesome. And so one of the things that you talk about on your TikTok is dating yourself and your solo tour, if you will. So what brought that on? Why date yourself?
Oh man. So the biggest catalyst was I had just left a very abusive relationship. It was emotionally, it was verbally, it was psychologically abusive. But that alone wasn't just the only catalyst. There was this moment, and I very distinctly remember this moment where I was really trying to recover because I just left it, and just how tough that can be when you kind of break that trauma bond. And I felt kind of almost suffocated by that darkness that you feel. And I tried to do a bubble bath. The bubble bath was doing absolutely nothing. And I had this moment of, how did it get to this? And not just how did it get to this in terms of that current day, that current state, but in terms of watching my relationships and my dating history be this like nightmare, one right after the other. Because unfortunately, I wish I could say it was a one abusive relationship, but the person who came before them did not treat me right at all. The person before that person did not treat me right, and so on and so forth. Dating back about 4 or so relationships, and I had this moment of, I haven't been single since I was 19. I got married right out of college. Admittedly, my husband at the time, he's a lovely human. I've got nothing but praise for him. But we were together for almost 15 years. And as soon as I left that relationship, I just jumped into dating. I don't think I was single for more than a month or two after. You might be hearing my cat in the background there. Salem, do you want to join in? Come here, buddy. Oh, nope. He's a little camera shy, apparently. Anyway. I had not been single for more than like a month or two. And again, since I was 19 years old. And after each rough relationship, I would swear off dating. I would have these big dramatic, that's it, I am not dating anymore. Let me just kind of swipe through real quick. I'm just looking.
Browsing.
Oh, no.
Browsing.
Exactly. I'm just window shopping, but somehow window shopping became actual shopping. Or, that's it, I'm done with dating. But gee, there's this guy in my DMs and he's really nice. He's also really cute. You know what? I'm okay seeing where this goes. There was always an excuse to break my vow. And I realized it was because it was always reactionary. It was always because of the guy. It was never because of me. And that was this moment of, okay, I need to invest in me, but I also don't know how. And, I kind of was finding my footing. One of my friends invited me last minute to, a trip to Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon National Park for New Year's. Mm-hmm. And she had invited me on last minute. She was like, I don't know if you can afford this. I'm like, I don't care if I can afford it. I'm going. And just that trip plus, and I speak of that trip specifically because New Year's Eve, I couldn't have planned the timing any better than I did, because New Year's Eve, we're driving back from our day in Zion National Park. I get this email from my favorite band, Guster, for those who know of Guster, and they're playing in my area. I click on the link and it is practically sold out. There's just a seat here, a seat there. And I'm like, you know what, whatever. Let's do it. I'll grab one of those seats. And that was when I realized I've never been to a concert by myself. This will be the first time I've ever gone to a concert solo. And somehow that was the spark for me was I'm going to solo date. I'm going to date myself. And I spent the rest of the night just hyper focusing on my notes app, like, okay, what do I want to do for the year of dating myself? And quite literally, January 1st, 2023, AKA this year, I was like, yep, 2023 is the year of dating myself.
Yes, I love it. And that, so I think a similar situation. So mine was like, you're right. You just one, they're just carbon copies of dicks. They're just carbon copies at this point. And it was, I kept getting into the same toxic situations. And I never really, we have a lot of really negative toxic traits in society where it's like, we should never victim shame or blame, but we also need, what is it about me that's attracting that particular flavor of toxic human? Because it's a recurring theme, and we don't do that. And I realized for me, it's like, oh, I have an anxious attachment. Like, I am very much like, I'm an egotist. I didn't get validated as a child. I need it all from outside. And the only people who are willing to give you that and love bomb you are toxic people. But you don't realize that until you're 2 months to 2 years deep into crap. And so I did this thing. So pagans and spiritual people believe in a year and a day. I don't know if you know this theory. So your entire life can change in a year and a day. That's how long it takes energetically for all the energy to cycle out of your body. Is a year and a day. So I have several clients who, like, they time it out and their life will change right at the year and the day mark, or a year and 3 days, and everything. And so I'm really committed to a year and a day. And so in my 20s, I was like, no dating, no sex, year and a day. Yes. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And then I would get to like 9 or 10 months and find a guy that was just, oh, he is good enough that I should break my vow. No, he wasn't, but there he was. And so it's about, I was like, nope. So I did that for like 5 years, where I would get to 9 or 10 months and then just swing back in. And I finally got to like a year and a day, and then a year and a day became 2 years, and I didn't date. And it was so bizarre because, like, I no longer needed that anxious attachment. Now, I want to be clear. Then when I started dating again, those old habits, just riding a bike, happened. And I had to be like, no, we're not. Dating now is so uncomfortable for me. And I was told this by a therapist. They're like, you will hate dating. And I was like, why? And they're like, you are so used to trauma and drama and toxic. You will find real healthy dating boring. And it's like, what about love and butterflies? They're like, those are all pleasant, but you're used to being set on fire and thrown in dog shit. And I was like, point. So I feel you. It's like you keep trying and then you commit to it and you watch everything change. So you want to know what the big change for me for dating myself was? You'll love this.
I'm here for this. Ice cream?
So I am actually an introvert, which no one can guess because I'm a Leo rising. And it takes a lot for me to be so outgoing. Like, you met me at we met in person at Twin Cities Pride, people. Like, it was out loud and proud, and it was fabulous. I cannot believe that I was blessed enough to like have someone walk up to the booth and say, invite me over to you guys and get to spend time with all of you at the TikTok booth. It was fabulous. I couldn't have asked for better because I wasn't even supposed to be there. So I know the universe gave me a gift. I wasn't even supposed to fucking be there. And I was just like, I'm here because I have to be. And then that happened. And I'm like, I'm here because the universe wanted me to be. But no, ice cream. I never went out alone. And I almost never drove because, like, I needed someone to take care of me. But there was this ice cream social where it was sampling a local creamery's all the different flavors. And I set up 3 different people to do it with, and each one bailed. And I wouldn't have been able to do it unless I went by myself. And I was terrified. I parked far away and like walked half a mile to get there because I just didn't want, I'm like, I don't want to park and have people watch me park or anything. And I sat there with my phone literally up to my face the whole time and did not speak. But that's when I was like, I can do it by myself. I can do it by myself. And now it's all I do. When people are like, let's carpool, I'm like, no, because my happiness cannot depend on your convenience or your bladder. Like, no, I want to go and I want to leave when I want to leave or stay when I want to stay. And that was so huge for me. So ice cream changed my social life completely. No regrets.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I wish I had such a like cool like thing that helped kind of like break that ice in terms of going to things solo. But I can definitely attest that those first couple of times that you start going out and you're so used to having somebody with you. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I think part of the reason why I hesitated for the longest time to be like at peace with ending my marriage. Was I was like, but who will I go to the movies with? Who will join me on these things? Like I genuinely could not fathom any activity where my partner was not part of it. And, you know, having that moment of I remember specifically Valentine's Day of this year, where my friend recommended this amazing bar in Boston. I completely forget the name, but it's in downtown Boston. It's like this speakeasy library kind of deal. And I remembered seeing the busy kind of lobby area, and I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna go. And I was like, nope, no. We're gonna march in. We're going to ask if there's room at the bar for you. I don't care how uncomfortable this is. You're doing this. And I forced myself to, and like everything in this world, it's never as bad as you thought it was going to be. And they were like, yeah, we've got space. And I got a chance to just sit there and enjoy a few drinks. And the best part too, when one of the waitresses came around and gave every woman a rose because it was Valentine's Day. And to me, that was this little like, you did good. You stepped outside of your comfort zone. Here's a reward. Here's your flower.
Yes. And I think you bring up a really good point with it not being as bad as we think it is. What are tips to dating yourself? Because this is scary let's real talk. I think this is scary for a lot of people, even as a concept, not even as an execution. And that's what holds people back from dating themselves more than anything is this image we have. Everyone's going to look at me. So my first example, my first tip for everybody, go out to eat by yourself. Tell the hostess to sit you by the kitchen. I always said, sit me in the very, very back. I don't make noise. Just sit me in a corner, the darkest, shittiest corner you have. Put me there. And they were like, are you sure? Yes. Put me where the only people who are going to see me is the busboy with dirty dishes. And that, for me, that helped a lot when I first started doing it. I wasn't sitting at the bar expected to talk to people, or God forbid someone walk up and talk to me. Oh. This is my time to eat cheesy French fries. This is not hit on me time. This is me time. So that's my first tip. When you go out to eat, sit in the back, sit by the bathroom, sit by the kitchen. This does not have to be, you don't have to make it more awkward than it needs to be. So what's a tip that you have for people who are just starting to date themselves and they're really about it?
Oh, wow. So I must admit the best thing that has helped me, and I know this might not be applicable for everybody, is just being very public about it. Because, you know, I was talking about it on TikTok and, you know, people started getting invested in it. And there were a couple of times where I'm like, I don't know. I was like, there are people who are going to nudge at me and go, but when's your next date? When's your next solo tour? Mm-hmm. And that would really help propel me forward. But, you know, it also doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm posting it on social media. One of my friends, Love, and yes, her name is Love. That makes me so, I love. She had decided that she was going to do a very similar thing. She was calling it the solo tour, which is why I will say solo tour here, dating myself kind of interchangeably. And knowing that she was doing it as well made me feel like, okay, I know that she's kind of relying on me to be her kind of accountability buddy. I can't let her down. I've got to do that stepping forward. So just having knowing that there are platonic people in your life that are going to hold you accountable. And one thing that I've really enjoyed is, so I have this lovely little ring on my finger. I actually got this as part of a compensation for working with a jewelry company. It's just a lovely little opal ring. Mm-hmm. And I decided, you know what? I'm having it on my left hand. I'm married to myself, but to
Yes.
the outside world, they don't know that that means to myself. I've had people ask, "Oh, you're engaged?" And
Mhm.
that's when I start saying like, "Oh, it's a year of dating myself, blah blah blah." But
Mhm.
I feel like in some ways this becomes a protection, a shield. Like, who's going to come up to me and try to hit on me when this clearly looks like an engagement ring?
Well, only garbage people. Only garbage people. It weeds you
Mm-hmm.
out real quick. And I think you make a good point. I feel like a lot of the people viewing this, you forget that there are so many people who are going through what you're going through. And while you can do it privately, you can also do it publicly, and you will be astounded by how many people support you. And it wasn't about dating, but I got in trouble for cussing at being a teacher, and I posted a 3-minute video about it and stuff. And they misgendered me while reprimanding me. That was fun. You're a grown woman. I'm a grown person.
Oh, mm-mm.
Don't You should know better. Maybe a grown woman would, but grown person don't give a fuck. And so um it was like I honestly posted that 3-minute video, and that was the video that I was honestly scared that people were gonna like attack me for, that I would get like a "you need to take this down, you're a monster" type thing. I got showered with "fuck yes, cuss all you want. Absolutely. We want your authentic self. Don't ever dilute it, please." Because that one Karen complained to the manager because I didn't get paid. Like by me telling her that I swear, by her not saying I said, "If you're uncomfortable, let me know." No one said anything in the class. She then went to the organizer, said that Lily is horribly offensive. I want my money back. I can't believe that she cussed so much. And I want to be clear, I cussed 4 times. That is not a lot for anyone who knows me. And then the director called me, and it was this thing, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't like pay you because you are inappropriate." So I lost money because this woman like didn't, and this is my job, this is my livelihood. I have nothing else. I have this. I have you people. Thank you so much, everybody. Like, share, and follow so that we continue to make money, so that we don't starve to death. We both like food. You've never seen us eat. We eat. We eat like grown-ups. So I was so like not alarmed, like just touched. Everyone was like, "We love you. We Yes." And that was the video that I thought everyone would hate me for. And it was just amazing. It got tons of views, my version of tons of views, and just all this support. So I feel like it needs to be said, it's okay to be public on social media or public in your friend group. There is support, even if you don't think there is someone going through it too, and they're like, "Oh yes, my people, my people."
Yes.
And then you just click and sync with them about it. So please just don't be ashamed of it being your year of dating you, or your period of dating you. Or here's a question. Oh, here's I. So, Abby, my darling, with
Mm-hmm.
dating yourself and your fabulousness, will that stop if someone comes into your life?
You know, the funniest thing is that I kind of tangentially had a situation where I was almost tested in that resolve because, not including any personal details, because I have learned that people in my personal life, they seem to find me everywhere on the internet, and I'm like, I do not need to give them context clues because no one is aware of this. But there was somebody who came into my personal life who was just, that kind-eyed helper that just, I'm a sucker for it. And I realized, and I was like, oh man, they give me the little squishy feelings. Okay. And I kept, kind of minimizing it because it was like, oh, squishy feelings, this is squishy. And then I was like, oh no, it's a crush. Oh shit, speaking of cursing, oh shit, it's a crush. And I had this moment of, because and a lot of all those old habits start kicking in. And as somebody who's also very anxiously attached herself, I felt the anxiety about potential. And I was like, but no. And I'd say this was around May, June when this happened. And I'm just like, well, but what if this person is no longer in my orbit by the time the year is up? I don't know. And then I just went, we are not playing this game, honey. If he or she or they are right for you, and I get the feeling the fact that I started off with he has a few people in my personal life going, is a guy. But A person of any gender, because I am pansexual. Anyone who hits my heart like that is qualified, if you will. If they are the right person, then it's going to be okay that I say, hey, you know what? You're cool. I'm on the year of dating myself though, and I need to focus on that. And even if it's not like a direct conversation where I'm saying that, but like me deliberately keeping my distance because I just can't have that. I cannot have this derailed on me because I've had this derailed. I mean, I was in a very similar boat when you were talking about like somebody who's worthy of breaking your vow. I was like, every single person I did literally would say, this is somebody who's worth me breaking that vow over. And okay, again, they never are. They're just there.
They're special. They're different. Come on. This one little thing. They said please when it was past the bread. That made I've done it. I have done every excuse you could, every tiny thin excuse. I've done it. I feel you. Okay, keep
going. I just laughed so hard because when you were saying the please, I remember there was one particular guy who, trash, but he ended his message with a smiley face. And for some reason, I was like, it's a smiley face. I was like, oh my God, the bar is so low. It's a tavern in hell. Like, no. Yes. And in some ways, I would also remind myself of that. Like, how many times, hun, and apparently when I get sassy with myself, I start calling myself hun, that you've seen someone who's worth it. Like, maybe it's okay to stop the year of dating yourself, or stop whatever reactionary I'm not dating. How's that worked out for you, hun? If this person is truly meant to be your person, then it is going to be okay that you do not do anything with them while you're on this year. And in some ways that kind of helped break the spell for me. This person's still very much in my orbit, but in some ways I felt the anxiety just kind of crack and go, if they somehow drift away from orbit before anything actually happens, they were not my person.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. And I've seen what it looks like to force a person to be your person when they're not your person. I am done with that. I don't care how much anxious attachment style me wants to force the person to be my person. I know what the outcome is. And I'm going to have to tell that more, anxious side of me, like, I'm sorry, we'll figure out other ways to make you feel loved and included, but that path ain't it.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point that when you're dating yourself, it can be solid rules like we have both had, the year and a day, the year of dating yourself and stuff. It can also just be an ongoing practice. And no matter what, not just romantic, any relationship in your life that is in any way consequential at all will support this. If they don't, they are not meant to be in your life. Now, there are some people that you have to have in your life, like your boss or something, and if they don't respect it, just, get some distance. But no, they will respect it. So if that human didn't respect it, it's like you weren't worthy anyway. And I also feel like with dating yourself, your standards go up so quickly. The ball is on the floor for the rest of society, if we're being honest, with the smiley face and the saying, please. But I now have, and people tell me, you will be alone forever. And because you won't settle, and therefore you will be alone forever. There is no one who meets your standards. And I said, and I'm at peace with that. I would rather be alone than be with someone that I would have to lessen myself or what I expect and require in a relationship. And when we say relationship, please know we mean friendships, we mean colleagues, we mean romantic, excuse me, allergies. All of these are different dynamics, but they are all relationships, and they all need attention, love, respect, equity, balance, all of these things. And so as you look at this, I've discovered that I can't feed that 15-year-old girl with the anxious attachment, because that is that, no. And it's not about starving her. It's just that she can't be given outside food.
Yeah.
It's like inside love. Don't expect to get it from somewhere else, because that just, and that's a me thing, that I tanked relationships because, well, there should be a good morning. I was like this, Abby. This was before we met. And I know, like, we have a lot of similarities, but it's like, I really liked a good morning and good night text.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just sweet and thoughtful, right?
Yeah.
And now I sit here and I'm like, wow, that is sweet and thoughtful. There was this guy who we didn't talk for 36 hours. Let me be clear, only 36 hours, a day and a half. We're both full-grown adults. What, so you're just done with me now? You're throwing me away? Well, I wasn't, but now I am.
Wow.
Like, that's his anxious attachment. You are not responsible in your time of dating yourself or any other time for someone else's, I don't know, maybe you'll find a way to word this, because it's not eccentricities, they're baggage. Like, you have needs I absolutely, like, I need my needs met. Feed me. In relationships, do you want to know? Yeah, feed me. That is love. Food is love, period. That is a hill I will die on. It is its own love language. It is the sixth. Feed me. And so, like, if someone doesn't feed me, I'm like, you don't love me. And that means I can't be with you, because that's a need of mine. But like anxious attachment, PTSD, trauma, anything like that, like, that's not another person's responsibility. And I feel like dating yourself, you take responsibility. You have accountability. You're like, oh, yes, that's mine. That's my shit. Okay. I'm the one accepting less. I'm the one feeding the anxious attachment. Maybe I should look at that. So how do you feel about those things?
Oh, there's so many things where I just, like, my little heart started singing, because and just going in order. Firstly, when you were mentioning that any relationships are relationships, it's not just about romantic. My relationship anarchy heart went, and as someone who does parts work therapy, when you were talking about 15-year-old, it's anxious attachment me, I was like, I feel that in my soul. And then going to the whole part about, that other people's baggage, this is something I have noticed. People who externalize a lot tend to gravitate towards people who internalize a lot. And that is to say, people who tend to just kind of turn inwards, blame themselves, and, oh my God, I'm the worst, tend to get with people who go, why did you make me do that? Why are you making me this way? And it can be really challenging, because if you're an internalizer, you're like, oh God, what did I do to make them feel this way? And as I have found, and I found this actually as I've been building up my platonic community, that while it is perfectly okay to ask for, hey, I'm feeling a little anxious right now, I'm feeling a little uncertain, are you free to give me some reassurance on this matter? Or even just like, hey, I know I'm reading too much into it, but I just want some reassurance that you're not mad at me. That a very respectful way of saying, hey, I just need a little bit extra right now. I need a little extra TLC. And the right people will say, hey, of course, here you go. And that's a world of difference than, oh, so you're done with me? It's like, that's not opening up communication. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a douche move. It's a douche move. So we have our first question. Raven Rising, who is a brilliant activist in the Twin Cities, all about equality and diversity. I truly love and respect all the work that they're doing. Do I approach dating myself differently if I've never dated anyone else before?
Ooh. I would say in some ways no, because I know for me it was a twofold. It was not just, hey, all that energy that you would give to somebody else, now it's time to reinvest in you, but also how do I want a partner to treat me? If I were to have a partner right now, what would I want with them? What would I want out of them? And the same way we can understand what our sexuality is without necessarily have been intimate with that particular gender, I think it's the same way with knowing what would help us feel loved, or even if we don't really know the details, just being like, well, I know that I would want someone who's compassionate with me. I want somebody who would want to go on adventures with me and be, daring with me, or be a homebody with me, or a combo of the two. And even if all you have is that category, and not necessarily all that energy I put out to other people put back into me, even just that one category, I think you can go really far with that. And I don't think it has to be all that different than if you had been knee deep in the dating trenches for, decades.
I fully agree with that. I think you're right. The only thing that's going to look different is that you don't have, let's be honest, the negative experiences to have a frame of reference. You're going from a completely clean slate. What do I want, and what do I expect, and what do I need? And I want to be clear. I always talk about this with clients and everything. Want, need, expect are different. They are different things. Anyone who says and most people unfortunately don't understand that. And so they just say, I need. And it's like, you expect that. Most of the time they expect it. And occasionally it's a want. But so when you're doing this form of self-discovery and dating yourself, what do you want, need, and expect? Be able to tell the difference for yourself. Dating yourself will become better. But then also if you choose to date other people, that will help also. And going back to the respect and support thing, as all of my viewers know, I run Lily of the Light. I love my business. I work 7 days a week. It's what I'm meant to do. I like it, and I want to build it to help as many people as possible. I need someone, who respects that, because before I would date people and they're like, well, you can just blow off work. No, but you work from home. So you can just, do your social media planning or, your podcast scheduling later. And it's like, no, I'm going to work. And I was recently on Happy. I don't know if you know this. I recently filmed another season of The Blocks. It's an entrepreneur live-in TV show, and I was one of the entrepreneur contestants. So you compete every single day to prove you can run a business really well. Oh. And it is intense. It is 18-hour days. I did it in heels. Thank you very much. I looked adorable. And it was great. But while I was there, I was talking to some of the judges at breakfast. I got a little woo, so I got to have breakfast with them. I was very happy to have the one-on-one time. And my dumbass, instead of asking how to run a business, how to do this, how do you date? How do you all find love? Can you give me some heads up here? And they're like, it is tough. You are a different breed of human just for being an entrepreneur. And then I said, I have a rule. I don't date entrepreneurs. And I said, because we'd both be so driven and work all the time. We wouldn't have time for ourselves. And I was sitting with two judges, and they both looked at each other, then looked at me and said, that's the only people you can date. And I was like, what? And I get that that's a generalization, but they were like, they will understand your ambition and be okay with it. They will understand that you just worked a 20-hour day and you passed out in your clothes. They will understand. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I've never been in a relationship in my adult life. When you're 18, 19, you're still young and dumb. But in my adult life, running a business, I've never been in a relationship where someone was happy about that or enthusiastic about me working so much and being committed to my community. They were all like, yeah, but you can cut out early. And it's like, no, I want to stay late for this client. I want to help them more. And they were like, an entrepreneur would understand that. And so in dating myself and learning more about myself, I'm learning oh, this isn't, because I always thought I would need someone with a muggle job, a 9-to-5 boring job, and learning that it's oh no, that I was wrong about that. That is, so you got to find people who are willing to support your lifestyle, no matter what that looks like. Because I know, Abby, I have seen some of your videos, and I'm just I'm not the bitch for you, as I see you with a backpack going hiking. And I'm I will go on a nature walk, and that somewhere I could wear yoga pants, and I'd be fine on a 2-hour nature walk at Spring Lake Park, which is a Twin Cities little path thing. But no, you were and you always bring the pack because safety first, and you don't want to be eaten by a bear. And I am sitting going, hell looks heavy. That looks. It's looking at those things and like knowing yourself, because let's be honest, in dating other people, how often have you, Abby, because I know I have, I could do that. Oh, that's what you want to do? Of course I'll do it. Like in the past, hypothetically, if we were dating and you were like, let's go on a hike, I would be like, you're pretty. Okay. I'm ready. Let's go. And then halfway up the hill of staring at your butt, I would go, I don't like you enough. I cannot go to the car. I will get a Subway if you let me go to the car. I hate you and everything you stand for, you healthy whore. It is so you no longer try to make things work after you date yourself. You look at that and go, oh my God, I love you as a friend. But if you ever asked me to go on a hike, I'd be like, I will make you a home cooked meal when you get back. Exactly. It'll be full of protein. It'll be very hydrating. We'll have some flavored water. It'll be great. Don't ask me to schlep through the woods. I don't own shoes for that. I own skater shoes. Like the stuff that you ride a skateboard with. Those are my idea of tennis shoes. So no, I cannot go hiking. You learn that about yourself. How many times? So that's my example. Mm-hmm. I've just seen a video of you on TikTok and I was like, I adore you, but oh my God, I'm never doing that ever. How often before the dating yourself did you try to contort? And let's be honest, we're mutilating ourselves. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we are mutilating ourselves, cutting and hacking. That was something that you did, I bet. It's obviously something that I did if I can have, such an feeling about it. It's something that we do, but it's also because society tells us if you like this person enough, it's work. And you should want what they want. No, I don't want what they want. And you don't have to share everything with the person you're dating or your friends and stuff. I know that Abby and I will probably be friends for the rest of our fucking lives. And we will never do physical activities together. We will do a lot of this stuff. We will do a lot of pride. We will go to theater together 100%. And we will have an incredibly fulfilling friendship, relationship in that way. So when you date yourself, you realize that one person is not meant to fill your entire bucket. That is stupid talk and very toxic monogamy. Monogamy is fine. Please don't come after me. But your friends fill your bucket in a way that your partner doesn't, and your parents fill your bucket. Like let more people fill your fucking bucket. And you don't need to change yourself. The person who you are meant to spend your time with, anyone in your orbit will respect that. Because I guarantee, Abby, now knowing this about me, you're never going to be like, you know what? If you really liked me, if we were actually friends and you respected me, you'd buy some hiking boots. You're going to sit there and go, it's fine. Please have water when I get back. Bye. And I'm going to go, bye. If you're ever like, oh, but I really want to go on a hike, I'm like, I don't care. I'm visiting. I'm going to root through your kitchen and order DoorDash. I am not in any way going to, and we'll respect each other. That's a huge thing about dating yourself. You realize that you respect yourself and other people and where they're at and where they're coming from. And you don't need to change, but they don't need to change either. How do you feel about that? Like not forcing people to fit into your bubble of comfort either.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was in a very similar boat. I contorted to the point of mutilation, and in a lot of ways that contributed to suffering within my marriage, which, again, absolutely lovely human, but he's a homebody gamer, and that makes my skin crawl. I don't really play video games. I barely watch. If I watch one episode of TV, I've had my quota of TV for the day. I'm set. But then here I am, like, running, jumping, climbing trees, and being like, well, like, why can't you be a part of this? In some ways, actually, I accidentally started getting into the year of dating myself in a solo tour while I was still very much dating, because for me, hiking started to become the thing that I had to do by myself. No one can hike as fast as me. And that's not even me trying to brag. I'm 5'10". Like I can just, relatively stride, and most people have to jog to
Mhm.
keep up with me. Especially at the time, I was just really hardcore adrenaline junkie, processing my trauma via the trails kind of deal. My my friends had a running joke of like, okay, you say it's an easy hike. Is that like normal people easy hike or Abby easy hike? Because those are two separate things.
Yes,
Um,
yes, they are.
and I found that it was just like, you know what? If I wait to not even just find people who are free the same time as me, but can do the same level of hiking as me, I'm never going to hike. And I became a solo hiker. And that does make some people nervous. But as I see it, it was a case of like, I am not going to force anyone to try to be this. I
Mhm.
am this. And if I find people in my life who are naturally this, hey, come along. We'll see who can get up the mountain first. But I have found that truly embracing people for who they are and understanding that you do not have to chop off the corners of that square peg to get it into the round hole is you don't need to do that to have people in your life. It's also extremely freeing because it does reverberate back. Even if you feel like, oh, I'm strong in who I am, if you are looking to people to conform into your bubble,
Yeah.
you can't help but do the same back. Like, oh, well, I did ask them to go on that hike, so I guess I'm sitting here and binge watching a TV show, even though the idea of sitting on a couch for more than 45 minutes makes my skin crawl. Um, I don't know. And that's where you start really developing authentic connections too. Like, I'm going to meet myself where I'm at, and I'm going to meet you where you're at. And we get to see what that communion is like between two authentic souls.
Yes, I love that. It adds a deeper connection. Dating yourself adds a
Mm-hmm.
deeper connection to other people. So we had the misfortune of dating trash goblins. And learning some really hard life lessons. But do you think that you should date yourself before dating anyone else? We've obviously both had our solo tours and stuff, and we're still
Mm-hmm.
doing them. And then with that, when should it start? Let's talk a little bit to our younger audience. I think you should
Oh.
start young. When you are developing who you are as a human, you should start dating yourself as a human.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you're a teenager and with peer pressure, from I want to say like 15 on, once you hit high school, start dating yourself, start
Mm-hmm.
doing things alone so that you are comfortable doing things alone. Be
Yes.
able to really incorporate that into your life. And then I also want to say, like, I don't know about you, but when, because I am still, a hopeless romantic and I want love, marriage, and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
when I meet someone, I will 100% continue to date myself. And that relationship will be number one. Even
Yes.
after, because people have said, like, what I have a hierarchy for my relationships. I am at the top because you need to take care of yourself. And I am a
Mm-hmm.
big advocate for self-care. Right
Mm-hmm.
underneath that is my business. And yes, I treat it like a baby. Like that's my little bundle of joy. Under that
Mm-hmm.
are my parents, who I would murder for. And then under that is, everybody else. And
Mm-hmm.
people say, well, when you start dating, how will that change? It won't, until I am engaged, and then they might bop up ahead of the
Yeah.
parents. But my business and myself are my priorities. And people have said no, and I'm like, but that's my life, and I need to date someone who agrees with that and is like that
Yeah.
too. It's
Mm-hmm.
about like respecting that, because I wouldn't want to be someone's number one either. That makes, at this, like, before, when we were young, we're like, oh my God, being the most important thing, that's real love. And now I'm like, if you tell me that you value myself more than yourself, I'm gonna get so creeped out and just envision myself in a freezer somewhere, chopped into pieces.
Yeah.
I am not going to think, oh my God, that's love. I'm gonna sit there and go, oh, no, dude, like, I don't care where we are. If we just met, if we're
Mm-hmm.
dating, if we're engaged, if we're married, I better never come before you,
Yeah.
because you'll never come before me.
Mm-hmm.
I need it to be not. So how do you feel about all that?
I mean, I completely agree. I think that dating yourself, I mean, date yourself as soon as you can, because I fully recognize, because I remember being a teenager and I can feel like how I would have reacted if some adult was like, don't you be dare date after college, why don't you date yourself in the meantime? I would have been like, screw you, I'm gonna go with my boyfriend to prom. But making sure that you prioritize yourself, it's that whole, you got to put on your oxygen mask first before you can put it on anybody else. If you cannot show up for yourself, you can't show up for other people. In some ways it's that cliche of, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly deferring out and deferring out and deferring out, mm-hmm. you're not going to truly give the true version of yourself to them. If anything, making sure that you prioritize yourself. And that is not to say, I'm going to be a nasty, selfish bitch, blah, blah, blah. No, but it is, I understand that I cannot just lose myself just because someone else is in my sights. If anything, because I can stand truly in myself, I'm going to be able then to stand next to that person authentically and 100%.
Yeah, I feel like there's a huge difference between empowerment and ego. Ego is the selfish diva Karen bitch. And empowerment is, I'm going to stand in my power and be okay with it. And it's not meant to hurt you. And at the same time, if it does, that's unfortunate. But I cannot be responsible for you feeling like I have thrown you out with the trash because it's been 36 hours. I could not believe, Abby, that someone said that. I was just like, what reaction were you expecting from that, sir? Just no.
Yeah. So that's immediate push away. There's no repairing connection here. You've ruptured the connection.
Yep. It's like, oh, don't really. And you may not know this about the Twin Cities. So it's a lot of people, right? We function as if we're a small town, though. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody runs in the same circles because it's like, well, spirituality and pagan overlap, and that overlaps with the Renaissance festivals, which overlaps with the kink community, which overlaps with the queer community. So we all just know each other. And so I'm like, okay, we are now acquaintances. Thank you. But so I want to get a little bit deeper. We've got 10 minutes left. Best advice for someone in a bad relationship about dating themselves?
Ooh, well, I mean, the simplistic thing is, I will say, as almost like a benediction, I hope that you were able to find both the internal and the external resources needed to get out of that bad situation. At the end of the day, I have the analogy of, if the soil is toxic enough, at some point you stop asking for a more resilient daisy, and instead you move the daisy to a healthier garden. But I also recognize it's so much more complicated than that. So just wishing that internal and external resources needed to get out. And I think, oh boy, it is so hard to remember that you are worthy of love and respect and care and compassion if you are in a situation where you are neglected, where you're disrespected, maybe you're getting yelled at, or even worse than that. That might even be a case where kind of calling on friends, be like, I might need a bit of a group date. Let's all go out and we're treating ourselves. And from there, how can I branch off? What can I do for myself? What kind of date can even if it is as simple as, say, I'm driving by a Friendly's, let's get that ice cream. And hopefully as you're building up that internal love and seeing how well you treat yourself, hopefully that can, at bare minimum, build up those internal resources to go, why am I accepting this external love that is not really love when I have figured out how to build that within myself?
Yep. I agree. I think internal and external resources, like you said, if you can't start with yourself, start with friends if you're able to. And when I say a bad relationship, I do not mean an abusive relationship. I want to be clear, but if you're in an abusive relationship, call the police, call a family member, get out immediately, take
Mhm.
care of you, do whatever you have to stay safe. And I do mean whatever. I am a big advocate for surviving horrific things. I did myself. And I want to be clear, I have no shame about the person that I was. And I have no
Mhm.
shame but what I was capable of and what I had to do to literally survive. And a lot of people have a problem with that because they're like, you were a monster. And I'm like, yep. And I was fighting monsters every day. So I became what I
Mhm.
had to survive. Was I nice? Absolutely not. I was a toxic, flaming cunt. But
Mhm.
I did it. I survived. I got out. I healed. I am better. And so I'm not talking about abusive relationships. Please, if you're in an abusive
Oh.
relationship, get help immediately. Please, please, please.
Mhm.
In bad relationships, I want to remind everyone that dating yourself is about you. And so you can keep it secret. You can keep it in a journal. You can keep it in your phone. And even if it's as simple as just following some people on TikTok or watching YouTube videos, just little tiny things that you can take away. Take a slightly longer shower. Take take care of yourself just little bits. Nothing has to be earth-shattering. Not everyone, wakes up New Year's and goes, I'm gonna date myself. Not everyone realizes that ice cream is the pathway to happiness and changes their whole life based on sugar. I do, but I am not for everybody. And so, little baby steps. When you're in a bad relationship and you want to start dating yourself, you do not need to tell the garbage human that you're with, I'm going to start dating myself. You just sit there and in your head go, okay, what do I want to do while they
Mhm.
are playing video games or at work? What's one thing I can do for myself? Start small, build it up, build it up, build it up. And eventually, like, your relationship is either going to change or else you're going to leave. Either way, it'll be what's best for you. Baby steps if you're in a bad relationship. So, what is the best advice you have for trying to find or start dating yourself?
Ooh, I think the biggest thing is to treat it as if you were meeting somebody brand new. I do not know the ins and outs and all the things about this person that I was just introduced to, but I'm really excited to get to know them better. And I found that has really helped me. Seeing it as I can't wait to get better introduced to me. I can't wait to finally get this time to sit down with myself and have those heart to hearts with myself. And it doesn't even have to be a literal, like I'm talking to myself, but getting to see what are the edges of my comfort zone? What does it look like when I'm outside that comfort zone? And knowing you don't have to have the answers. It really is. I can't wait to get to know this person better, which I know is kind of fun advice, especially for people who have anxious attachments, because we kind of go, but I need to know everything about them right now. I can't wait. Do not wait for no, now.
Mhm.
At least that's how I was.
There's no
Um,
patience. There's no patience in anxiety. None.
mhm. Exactly. And, understanding that it is perfectly okay if there's a lot of uncertainty. While the year of dating myself has become a lot more robust, it's also almost August. I've had a lot of time not only to have experiences, but to kind of refine my list. When I first started and I was, plugging away at the Notes app, it was a lot of question marks like, go here in January, axe throwing question mark, not knowing really what the next step was. But it was also like, I also don't need to know every single step in a relationship with another person. And ideally we're not doing that, because the only person who's going to be happy to, like, oh, I'll fill in those blanks for you, those are the toxic people.
Mhm.
um but just going, you know what, today I am excited that I get to spend time with me, and let's see
Mhm.
where that goes.
Yes, I love that. And I love, so with me, I'm neurospicy and most of
Mhm.
my followers are. I love lists. Make
Mhm.
a Pinterest mood board, make lists, do notes on your
Mhm.
phone. Not only of like the ideas, but of the experience, because when you have an experience and then you wait, in 6 months, you may sit there and go, well, that wasn't so bad, because we do that with dating also, with dating other
Mhm.
people. It's like, well, it wasn't so bad to go to sushi. I hate sushi. I am never going to love someone enough to have, they can go with their friend.
Mhm.
But so I distinctly remember that because I made an active note years ago when I went once, and once was enough, people. And I was like, it's a texture thing. Okay. It's not a taste. It's a texture. It's not going to change. I'm neurodivergent. But I made such a note that I'm like, I will never forget that. But so often we have an experience and then we have real feelings about it. And then later on, we're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Then we do it again. It's like, that's right. This sucked. And so I want you not just to like make lists of things that you want to do, like the axe throwing, which I actually did just a few weeks ago also.
Yes.
Okay. So have you done it yet?
I actually, the reason why I put that off like as my example is literally yesterday. I went axe throwing.
I got a question for you. Are you a one-hander or a two-hander?
I definitely am a two-hander, but I kept trying to practicing the one hand because as I saw it, this was something that was I thought was not going to be new to me because I used to throw hatchets as a kid. It's a completely different world when you're, throwing them at a wall with targets. And they were constantly bouncing off. I had the employees come up to me 4 times to give me pointers. I was that bad. So every time I felt confident with the 2 hands, I was like, okay, let's see how the one hand goes. But I definitely feel so much more powerful with the 2-hander.
I agree. I'm a big fan of the 2-hand. My one suggestion for everyone is, as you all know, I am a hat whore. Wear a nice small hat that doesn't have a brim. I wore a witch's hat when I did it, and then went and like trying to like keep my elbows wide enough that I didn't take the hat with me.
Oh no.
It was so difficult because I never take my hats off in public, and that wasn't gonna change because I was throwing axes. But no, it is I strongly suggest that one for a solo date. Yes, Raven Rising, if you want to, you can wear a bike helmet. I think that is totally acceptable. I wouldn't judge you for that at all. And so it's picking fun things, but also picking things that may scare you, like eating out alone, doing adventures, things like axe throwing. It can also be like doing things at home. If you really want to watch a series that, sit down and watch Bridgerton. Why not? Even though the corsets are not period specific, which really annoys me, but to each their own. The costumes are great. The corsets are just a little dated. It can be taking a bath once a week. It can also be, let's get a little X-rated as we go into this. Dating yourself can also mean fucking yourself. It can mean you should never, and this is my personal opinion, no one come at me, you should never depend on someone else to know how to please you. You live in your body. You should know your body for many reasons, including medical. But you should know what turns you on. You should know what makes you happy. And then you should also be able to articulate that if you are ever with somebody else. I got the best advice from someone in my early 20s. They were like, if you can't describe it, you shouldn't be doing it. And it was talking about being like childish. If you can't say, I want to have sex with you, you should not be having sex with them. Someone's like, oh no, well, let's just see where it goes. It's like, no, you don't have to use like explicit terms, but you should be able to articulate, I would like to be intimate with you now in a sexual fashion. Yay, yay, maybe type thing. So like dating yourself can also be a sexual experience. And I think it is an important part of the experience just because you should know your body. You should not depend on someone who doesn't know you. And the exploration together is lovely, Yay! And you should not be depending on somebody else. You can still have a full relationship with yourself without needing the appendage of somebody else.
Exactly.
I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm like, I'm just going to put that out there at the end.
Well, it's very fitting because I recently did a promotional campaign with a adult fun time toy company, and a lot of it was about intimacy. And even though I'm on the year of dating myself, intimacy does not have to mean it's off the table. And I mean, I'm in a very similar boat where and now if you are ace in any way, no worries, don't have to. If it is something that it's good to explore if that is part of your sexuality and getting in touch with your body, which also means if and when the time comes and you have an intimate partner of some variety, like if you know what makes you feel good and they are being obtuse about what you need, and it does not matter. You could communicate until the cows come home and they're like, is that good enough for you? You can just be like, I'm washing my hands of you. I know what's good for me. So why would I waste my time with this sexual relationship where I am not being listened to? They're not attuning to me. I can just attune to myself then.
And I think that is also a way that we settle a lot in relationships is in the sexual arena, because it's like, well, they're so nice and respectful and stuff, but they do not get me off. I am a big believer. I always tell people, I'm like, I'm an all or nothing kind of person. If I have a relationship, it's a full relationship, which means you have to stimulate me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. And if you can't, like, then you're not for me. But if you don't know your body, if you don't know what turns you on, you may think that sad experience that you had was all it is. There are several women who I have talked to, and they're like, yeah, I never knew that, sex could be a certain way until they went and explored it themselves. And they're like, oh, that's what an orgasm feels like. And it's like, oh, honey, yes, an orgasm is your friend, occasionally your best friend. I mean, that is a close relationship with your body. But they don't know because they never experienced it. It was always just like, well, I just always thought it was like that because that's what I had. And it's like, know yourself so you know what you want, and that you're not sitting there going, well, I guess this is what it's supposed to feel like. Know how it's supposed to feel for you, and know that it's different for everybody. And there is no shame in needing any of the accoutrement that Abby has been promoting. If you need a tool, if you need lube, if you need porn, if you need whatever it is, as long as it is not unethical, immoral is fine. Like, if you're just a dirty whore, rock it out, baby. But as long as it's not unethical and like evil, do it up. Just be happy. No shame. So yeah, that is, I think that's something that we didn't really talk about, that I'm like, oh, I think we should mention this, because some people, they just don't, or they think it's shameful, and it's not. And like we were discussing before, talking about it makes it more commonplace. And it's like, oh, I can do that. That was spoken, we both speak very openly about things. And I feel like the reason why we do it is not for ourselves as much, but it's like almost like a beacon. It's like, let me shine my authentic light so much that everyone else feels comfortable to shine too. It's not, oh, look at me. It's this is an example. Please use this example. Please allow me just to help you. And if my existence helps you, if a post helps you, that's awesome. I love helping people. I love getting those messages that it's like, watching this made me XYZ and now my life is better. And it's like, yes. And it's like, all we have to do is be ridiculous online. And let's be honest, we're ridiculous in real life. So it's okay.
Exactly. And I love it. I love that inspiration. I always think of that quote, we're all just walking each other home. And there's nothing in this world that makes me happier than seeing a comment that's like, I'm going to do this thing, and you inspired me to do it. And I'm like, yes.
I love it. So we have reached the hour mark. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Thank you, Raven Rising, for all of your contributions in the comments and your lovely questions. We do appreciate them. Abby, if people want to follow you on TikTok, what is your handle, please?
Well, beautiful news. That name right there, I'm trying to figure it out on that Abby Rosmarin. That is my handle on TikTok. That is my handle on Instagram. That's my handle on Threads. If you are a Twitter or Facebook person, admittedly, I'm not too much on those, but it's that Abby Rose. That's my old handle from way back in the day. You can also find me on Amazon, the author marketplace. Say that 3 times as fast, especially if you have a Boston accent. If you just Google my name, the cool thing about my name is there's literally only one other Abby Rosmarin in the world, and I'm the only one of us that is an author. So just finding me there. And those are the big ones. I am the most active on TikTok. I try to post every single day, and I definitely try to do as much as possible to really document the year of dating myself.
I love it. That is wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Remember to like, share, and follow. And if you are dating yourself, let us know. Post it in the comments. Send us a message. Document it yourself. Like, just just love it and get into it because it is fabulous. And remember that if you ever need help with self-discovery, the Year in the Day membership is available, and it does last a year and a day. And we do things every single month for you to discover who you are. And if you want help dating yourself, schedule a session. Link in the bio, as always, lilyofthelight.com. We are here to help. We want to support you in your amazing journeys. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we hope that you have a great year and you start dating yourself immediately.
Yes.